You're listening to Hello Good Life, the podcast where we help you define what your good life means to you. We're diving into the nitty-gritty of creating an intentionally good life that you love, from the good, the bad, to the downright ugly, and everything in between. Here's your host, Shay Rubsky.
Hello. I am so excited to talk to you today about a subject that I think is so incredibly important. And it's really near and dear to my heart because one of the things that I recognized for myself over the last few years is that I had huge FOMO. And if you don't know what FOMO means, it is the fear of missing out. And so I actually thought, okay, what if I change this so that I'm not focused on what I'm missing out on and I'm focused on the joy of actually missing out? And so today I'm going to take a journey on how to be more content, be more okay with you just not having to be a part of each piece of everything. Back when my kids were little, they did this thing where they said, "Mommy, Daddy, can we have a yes day?" And I remember thinking, "Oh, that sounds kind of fun. Like, let's do a yes day." Obviously, have a few parameters when it comes to the kids and spending unlimited amounts of money. And we did a yes day. And it started off fairly easy. Hey, let's have pancakes for breakfast. Yay. Okay, yummy. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go out to eat. Let's get McDonald's. Let's do this. And like all day, by the time we were home by the end of the day, I was exhausted. It was so cool to see the kids. It was so cool to ride our bikes, go for walks, get out and about. Like they were little, so we did fairly simple things. We did a little bit of shopping too. But by the end of the day, I'm like, man, I don't know why I thought saying yes to everything was a great idea, other than for my kids to experience it, which was kind of fun, lots of laughter. But I said, I will never do that again because I was literally exhausted. But as I've started getting older and started to, our kids are obviously, you guys know this because you've most likely listened to the podcast before. If you have not, welcome. I am so happy you're here. My name is Shay. I am your podcast host. But as I've gotten older, I've recognized that it's not about me going in and wanting to have the fear of missing out. Our kids are in sports. My husband and I both work. We both have busy lives. I have a lot of projects at home that I want to do. And if I'm saying yes to everything, if my kids are saying yes to everything, I'm going to be stressed and feel that stress. And that's just not okay and not fair. So I actually said, how can I look at it differently? How can I say yes to the things that are my hell yes? And then how can I say no to the things that aren't like things that I want to do? Before I dive into the joy of missing out, I really want to like see if you have felt this fear of missing out. And so in my opinion, like when I'm talking about the fear of missing out, I'm thinking like you have that feeling, that all consuming feeling that you're missing out on something that's so important that others are experiencing. And I feel like it's that, oh my gosh, everybody else is having more fun. Everybody else is living a better life. Everybody else is experiencing more success. And honestly, it's really just amplified by social media where we're seeing, the perfectly curated highlight reels. And that's what's on constant display. And so, in our opinions, how we're making that story in our head is that, oh my gosh, everybody's living their best life all the time. And I want to do that too. So I don't want to miss out on anything. And what I have found is so let me just share this with you right now before I dive into more. I've stopped comparing myself. I have stopped saying I want to fit in with the Joneses. I found like years ago, that's what I was doing. And I'm so grateful that I've done the mindset work to realize that that is not what I actually wanted. It was just something that I was trying to live up to because that's what I saw on social. And so before I dive back in, I want you to recognize that you're only seeing the curated piece that people want you to see when you're looking at their social. When you are going to get that dopamine hit of that scroll, you're only seeing the best of what they want to share with you. And you're not seeing the crying behind the scenes. You're not seeing the overtiredness. You're not seeing their overextendedness. You're not seeing the years that it took them to potentially get to that level. You don't know what year they're at. I have a client who we're looking at how we can get, well, we've actually started getting better quality leads, but we're looking at how they can match because they're comparing themselves to another firm similar to theirs. And they said, "Oh, yeah, I've noticed that they've been doing marketing for 3, 4 years. And they've just started marketing this company that I'm working with. We're only about so I started working with them 2 months ago, and they're only on month 6. So I said, "You can't compare your month 6 to their year 5." And so you can't compare the blood, sweat, and tears that that person put in or the fakeness that that person put in. Let's just call a spade a spade. Sometimes they're giving you a 30-second glimpse of their life. And remember, they're 24 hours in a day. So don't compare yourselves to that when you are at a different level. And so when I'm thinking of fear of missing out, especially now in this context, I'm thinking of the overextension of yourselves, the committing to events or projects that aren't really focused on where you are in your life and where you want to be. And for me, the season of life that I am in is that I want to be with my children. I want to be with my friends that uplift me, that make me laugh. At the time of recording this, I'm just getting back from our state bowling. I did not bowl very well, friends. Not at all. But we did have so much fun. And I just remember the laughter, my best friend telling these horrible, horrible dad jokes, and everybody laughing. And I'm like, stop laughing at these. But because they're laughing so much, you end up laughing too, because it was so horrible, but it was really uplifting. And so for like I said, for this season in my life, I don't have fear of missing out for the things that are superficial that are, hey, let me get this picture so I can post it to social. For me, it's important to share my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but that's not everybody else's intent. And I also have to remember that as well. So now I really want to share with you kind of about what the joy of missing out is. For me, it feels kind of freeing. I have, and you can ask my husband, you can ask my friends, over, I want to say, the last 6 months to a year, I have realized that it has been incredible and so freeing to let go of my need to do everything. And even as a mom, I think, oh my gosh, I used to say, well, let me just do it because it's easier. No, how am I going to raise two capable children who will move out of the house if they want to go to college? Great. If not, how can I make sure that they're ready to go into the working world or starting their business? How can I make sure that they are functional, kind humans moving forward? So then I need to release some of my need to do everything within our home so that I can teach them, show them how to do it in a way that is like working. And it doesn't need to be to my standard every single time because I have different standards than a 14-year-old and a 13-year-old and my husband. But when I let go of the need to do everything, it is incredible and how much time that I get back. I don't have to feel like I need to be everywhere. I don't feel like I have to satisfy everybody's expectations at the expense of my well being. Let me repeat that. You do not have to satisfy everybody's expectations at the expense of your own well being. Your life is about embracing your choices, finding satisfaction in living a life that feels good to you, finding the joy in your current life. Because as far as we all know, we only get one of them. And how you live it, like when you're 70, 80, 90, what is going to be your biggest regret? Trying to fit in a place that you don't fit in? Trying to force yourself into something that does not work for you? Why? All so that you can get that Facebook post? So you can get that TikTok video? So you can get that Instagram story? Honestly, like it is a huge eye opener. And sometimes you don't want to hear this. So I'm sorry. Not really. Sorry, not sorry. Sometimes you need that come to Jesus moment. So if you do, it is here, my friend. It is right here. So let me get back to the joy of missing out. In my opinion, when I had the fear of missing out, I have felt so anxious inside. And then I was also spreading myself too thin, which gave me more stress and more anxiety. And so when I reflected and changed it to the joy of missing out, which I actually think that's a book by one of the people that I absolutely love that I actually think I read, which is probably why this is sounding so familiar now. I think Tanya, what is her name? Shoot, I cannot remember her name. But there's an actual, now that I'm thinking about it, there's an actual book, I believe, on this topic that I read, which is why it sounds so familiar. But for me, I'll put the link to the book in the show notes once I find it, once I'm done recording this. But for me, the joy of missing out. So not FOMO, JOMO, yo. I take a deep breath. I feel into me, into what I want to experience. And then if it's that hell yes, then I say yes. If it's me supporting my friends' business, my friends' lives, if they need me, of course, it's a yes. Same for my kids, same for my husband, same for like the my core people. If they need me, I'm going to show up. But if it's like, hey, do you want to go out for drinks on Friday? And I know I've had a long week. I was gonna say a potty word. If I had no, I've had a long, long, long week. No, I don't wanna go out for drinks. I wanna sit on my couch and watch a Hallmark movie or sports because now that at the time of recording this Brewer season, baseball season is back into effect. Let's go, Brew Crew. But it's about giving myself permission to say no. It's about giving myself permission to push off the pressure of having to have that constant busyness, the constant connectivity of what's everybody doing? Where are they going? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to be with? And it's about celebrating my decision to skip a party or to skip a family event. Did I just say family event? Skip it? Yes, friend, I did. And that is a okay if you do too. If your family wants to get upset at you for missing an event, that's not very good family ties, is it? Obviously, if it's an important event like a birthday, but if it's just, "Hey, we're doing dinner this week," that we do every single week, and you're not feeling up to it, no is a complete sentence. Give yourself a quiet moment with a book or a day at home, or give yourself that time to reset so that you are giving yourself permission to move forward. So, some things that I would do when I'm going through and thinking about the fear of missing out, the joy of missing out, a few tips that I want to share with you, just so maybe you can have like a base of where you feel like you should be. I guess I didn't word that very well. But the first thing that I do is I do a self reflection. And then, like I said, I've talked about this a few times. I know my yes. I know, okay, this is my yes for this. And then if it's a maybe, then I think about why do I feel compelled to maybe say yes? Is it out of a genuine interest? Is it out of obligation? Is it out of that fear of missing out? Or is it out of trying to please somebody? You do not need to please others. But all of that to say, when you understand your yes, then now you're actually starting to understand the motivation behind your choice so that you can make better decisions for you and more aligned with what your desires and your values are in this season of your life. Another thing that I've been doing is prioritizing like my passion and my commitment. What I do is I actually have a list of like what my top priorities are in my life, in my home, with my family, what my passions are, and also what my commitments are, because I do have client work. I do have kids and activities, and we have a bunch of house activities that we are focused on getting done. And so now I'm saying, okay, is my decision for a yes based off of a procrastination, but that's a whole different podcast episode? Or is it based off of that I want to do this or I'm avoiding something else? And then I'm really looking at, hey, can this time be spent doing something different that aligns more for me, or can it not? And then another thing that I do, number 3, is that I actually set boundaries and I have learned to say no. And I know that that feels hard, but when you start to go in and set boundaries, which I'll actually do, I have a podcast where I talked briefly on the boundary piece, but I'll do a whole nother podcast on how to set healthy boundaries for yourself so you can really be clear about your limits, about your respect for yourself, and then how to tell that to others so that you're not feeling like you're being a butthead essentially. But yes, and learning to say no, which can be the hardest piece, but that is something that you're going to have to do. And then another one is that I actually have started to practice more mindfulness. And I know I've talked about this as well on the podcast, but I actually really take the time to journal, spend a few moments in silence. I love meditation, but it's really giving me that space to get back in connection with myself. And when you're in connection with yourself, or better connection with yourself, like your true self, not again, not the superficial self that you want everybody to see, but your true self, you're able to make better decisions, and it's going to make you feel more joyful, more happy, and satisfied rather than like you're acting on autopilot out of fear of missing out. And then the final thing that I do, so that again, I am giving myself that permission, is that I celebrate my choices. Like, hey, you said no. High five. Watch your show. Get your stuff. Like, you get to do something. I love coloring. Like, sometimes that's just a release. I love reading my books. Hey, you get to read a book tonight. You get to have quality time at home on the couch with your family. You get to do a game night because you're not doing this extra stuff. Like, it really gives you perspective when you are celebrating the choices that you're making. And it also is building up that muscle for you to trust your instincts and yourself more. Whew, that was a lot to unpack, my friend. I just wanted to share this with you. Thank you for being here. Once you start to integrate this into your life, once you start practicing more of the JOMO, the joy of missing out, you're going to create more peace and essentially contentment in your life. And you're going to really build that trust in yourself around trusting your instincts, knowing your feelings, and saying no is really an incredible thing sometimes. So, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks for listening to Hello, Good Life. To connect more with us, check out soulfueledlife.com.